welcome back to Little Miss Lorraine. Today I wanted to talk to you about PDF patterns and to give you a few tips and tricks when it comes to printing and sticking them together. I love PDF patterns. Majority of my pattern collection is PDF patterns. I don't like waiting for patterns to come in the post, and also it is a lot cheaper to get a PDF pattern. There are lots of pluses to PDF patterns, but one of the things that is tricky with them is having to print them yourself and stick them together. So that's why I thought I'd make this video for you. I have done my fair share of cutting and printing and sticking, so I've learned a couple of tricks along the way that I thought I'd share with you today. So if that's something that you'd like to learn, then make sure you keep watching. Really quickly before we jump into the tutorial, I'm really bad at doing this at the beginning of videos, but this is my Matilde blouse by Tilly and the Buttons. I absolutely love this top. I got the inspiration to make the spots from one that she'd made. So it features gathers here, and then the puffed sleeves, which are so cute. And at the back I've got wooden buttons down there, just for something a little bit different. Let's jump in. Okay, so let's start with printing the pattern. This is probably the most important step because you can't just print it the way it shows up on the screen, and I'll explain that a little bit further down the track. First of all, obviously what you'll need to do is go to the website and purchase your pattern. For this tutorial I am using the Mabel pattern. So I have actually already purchased this one, and they've sent me an email with a link to the download page. So I've got it open here. So once you get to the digital download page, you'll see here that you can download in English, French, etc. So I have already downloaded this in English. So once you've downloaded, you need to find where the folder is saved. So mine is in my downloads. And you'll see it is in a folder, and PDF patterns come in folders because there are a number of different things in there. There are instructions and the pattern pieces and a couple of other things which I'll show you once we go in. So if I double click on this one, this takes us to the pattern. So you can see that there are a lot of things in here. What Colette do is they have, which is actually quite good, is they do for each version a separate PDF, or you can print them all on the same version. So I think that's a great idea because personally I only want version 1 for now and possibly version 3. And so instead of getting confused with all of the lines on there, you can just print the one you want. So anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So you'll see here there's a contents which tells you a little bit about what's in here. There are the instructions. So I usually send these to my iPad so that I can have my iPad up and running whilst I'm sewing. You could also print these off, completely up to you. And then you'll see there's a version 1, a version 2 and a version 3 and a separate one for the waistband as well. And then you've got all, which will print all of the versions for you in one. And then you've got one that says Mabel Wide. So you can actually get these printed on big pattern paper at a printer's if you would prefer not to stick them all together. Personally, I don't mind sticking them together, and it's quicker and I can get it done now. But if you want to do that, you just need to take this to your printer and ask them if they can do it for you. I think in the contents page or the instructions they might tell you what width you need to have the paper in order to do so. So for the purpose of this tutorial we're going to go with version 1. So I'm going to double click on that now, and you'll see that it opens up with the pattern pages. So there are 14 pages with this pattern, which is actually pretty good. I've had ones that are closer to 30. So this one is a little bit of an easier one to do. And you'll notice that it has a square on there that says test square 4 inches by 4 inches. This is a really important square. So what this means is when you print it, that square should measure 4 inches by 4 inches, and that will ensure that the pattern prints out to the right scale. So if that square is not 4 by 4 inches, then you have an issue. So what I do is I always do a test print of the first page before I print anything else, because I don't want to waste my time printing 14 pages when they're all wrong, because I've made that mistake before. So when you're printing these, if I just go into the print screen now, you'll notice here that it's got scale to fit. Now, we don't want it to scale to fit, because what that's doing is it's scaling the image on there to fit the page the way it thinks it should fit on there. And you'll notice here it says scale 94%. So that means that it is shrinking it by 6%, which we don't want. That will make it not to scale. So what we want to do is we want to click on scale, and we want to change that to 100%. And you'll notice here that this has gotten bigger. So when it was on 94, you can see there's a lot of border here. And now when I change that to 100, there's less border, which means that it has brought it back up to the full size of it. So that is a really important step when printing PDF patterns, and something I didn't know when I first did it. So now what I can do is I can print the first page and just test that square is 4 by 4 inches. And then once I'm happy with that, we can go ahead and print all of the 14 pages and move on to sticking them together. Okay, so once you've printed out your pattern, you will need to find a large work area to lay it all out on. I'm using my cutting table. You will need a pair of scissors or a paper rotary cutter, and your choice of sticking medium. I prefer sticky tape. I have used glue before, and I just prefer the way that the sticky tape holds the pieces together, but that is completely up to you. The other thing you obviously need is your printed pattern pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to cut all of the paper before we stick it together. I just find that it's so much quicker doing it this way. I have done it where I cut each bit and then stick it, then cut, then stick, but I think if we use a bit of a production line mentality, it gets it done a lot quicker. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut the top bit of paper off. I've already started this one, and the left hand side of the paper off as well, and this will just help it all stick together properly. So once you've done that, we'll get back to sticking the pieces together. So now we've cut all of the pieces of paper. I've split them into 2 piles. So this is the first line, and then this is the second line, just to make it a little bit easier. So we're just going to pop the second one to the side for now. So taking the first bit of paper with the test square on there, you'll notice that there are little triangles with a number next to it on the side and down the bottom. This is to help you line up the bits of paper. So what you're going to do is get your second bit of paper, which also has a 1A and a 1A on there, and this is why we've left this bit here so that we can stick this on top of it. We're going to line up the 1As like so, and then take our sticky tape, and stick those 2 together. Now we'll move that along, so we'll do the same thing for the next bit of paper. I've got a bit of paper now, 1B, 1B, so I'm going to line up both of the 1Bs. And also just check while I'm doing it that the pattern lines match up as well. And then I'm going to take some sticky tape and stick that one down as well. So this is how we're going to continue until we get to the end of the first row. So I'm at the end of the first row now, and you can see now why you need a large space to do this on. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the second row. So you grab your second row pile, and take the first bit of paper. So now you'll note that there is a triangle at the top and a triangle on the side. So what we're doing now is linking up the top triangle and the side triangle. This is where it can get a little bit tricky. So just make sure again when you're doing it, I'll just move this over. When you're doing this, as well as lining up the triangles, just eye and make sure that you can see that the pattern lines are lining up as well, because obviously if they're not lining up, something's gone a bit wrong. So once that's lined up, you get your sticky tape and attach it on. So the next one, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. I now need to line up my 2B and my 3A at the same time. So I'm going to place this down. So I've got my 3A and my 2B, and I'm also conscious of the grain line and the pattern line. So once I've got them lined up, take my sticky tape one side, and then sticky tape the other side. So we're going to continue doing this until we reach the end of the second row. So now we've done piecing it all together, we can move on to tracing this so that you can use them for pattern pieces. I wouldn't suggest cutting this directly because you may want to use another size at some point, and if you do that you're going to have to print it all again and stick it all together. So I trace mine off, and to do that I use interfacing, but it is thick interfacing. I think it is actually called Trace something at Spotlight. So it's like a thicker interfacing, but it's not too thick, and it is see-through. So I'll show you in a moment how it works. Really cheap too. This is something like $2 to $3 a meter. So I always get 3 or 4 meters whenever I run out, just so that I've always got it here to trace off with. So to trace it off, I also use this pen. So it's a fabric marking pen, and on one side the purple tip, I'm not sure if that will focus for you. Oh, no. The purple tip dissolves in, I think the purple tip is the one that dissolves in water, and then the blue tip is the one that dissolves in air. I could be wrong on that one. But basically that's what I use to trace off the patterns with. I have used just normal pens or a like a HB 2B lead pencil as well. So it's completely up to you what you use, but these are really good. So what you're going to do is lay the interfacing out over the pattern. Doesn't have to be, don't try and iron this or anything because it'll stick to your iron. It doesn't matter if it's a bit crinkled. Again, you can see why you need such a big space to do this with. The other thing that is really handy to have is a ruler. I have this 2-inch ruler, which is really handy because it is quite long, just to help you draw the straight lines in. And if it is a pattern that has curved pattern pieces, a curved dressmaker's ruler is also handy, just to get the shape of the curve if you're not confident drawing it freehand. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to use the 2-inch ruler. So what I'm going to do is try and position the fabric so that I'm not wasting too much of the interfacing. And then I'm going to choose the blue side just because it's a bit of a thinner tip. And I'm going to get my ruler and start tracing. So I am tracing off an extra small, and usually these patterns have different lines for each size. So the extra small on this one is the solid line. So I just need to make sure that when I'm tracing off, I'm always following the solid line. down. Some of the lines join here. That's just because all the sizes have the same and then they have the same at the end. So I'm going to start tracing. So when you're tracing, you want to put on everything. So I am putting on the arrow with the fold line. And I will also write place on fold of fabric. And then I'm going to move on now to the side, which is a bit of a curve, but not too much that I don't think I can freehand. Back to my ruler. And down the side again. So it's really important to transfer all of the pattern markings from the pattern piece onto the fabric. So I'm including the notches, what pattern piece number it is, what it is. So this is the waistband, back. And I need main fabric, 1 on fold, lining, 1 on fold. So like I said, it's really important to write that stuff down because I can guarantee when you cut it out, you're not going to remember what it said. So I'm going to move on to the next piece now. So once you have all of the pieces drawn onto the fabric, you can cut out your pieces now using your fabric scissors. I hope this video has shown you that PDF patterns are not quite as scary as you might think they are, and that it might have given you a few tips and tricks on how to make the process a little bit easier. If you like videos like this, please let me know if I should do more by hitting the like button or letting me know in the comments below. I really enjoy stuff like this. If you read my interview with Rachel from August & Co last couple of weeks ago, you will see that I actually did want to be a teacher at one stage. So in the future of Little Miss Lorraine, I'd really love to get into some sort of classy type things. So like I said, if you liked this style of video, please let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye!